Vernomatic Productions.
Are you ready?
Live from the Metal Mayhem Studios in Rochester, New York.
We are gold. We are gold.
And heard around the world by metalheads just like you. This is Metal Mayhem ROC.
Heavy metal music.
Your weekly dose of metal music, interviews, album reviews, news, and more. Want to be part of the show? Send us a message through our website, metalmayhemroc.com, or hit us up on Facebook and Twitter. Search Metal Mayhem ROC, a proud member of the Pantheon podcast team.
It's getting nice and heavy.
Now, welcome our hosts, John the Vernomatic Verno, and direct from New Jersey, Metal Walt.
Good evening, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well, staying safe, and especially staying healthy. Well, it's Memorial Day weekend, the official kickoff to Summer 26, and tonight we got a really fun conversation lined up for you. Metal Walt sits down with Gus G to talk about his recently released solo album, Steel Burner, the continuing evolution of his band Firewind, and his years alongside Ozzy Osbourne during the Scream era. The conversation dives into collaborations with Ronnie Romero, the current European metal scene, upcoming Firewind North American tour plans, and the songwriting process behind the latest solo release. We're also going to hear some incredible stories here. The nerve-wracking audition that completely changed Gus's career. Ozzy's wildly ambitious vision for those tours during the Scream era, and the surreal moment a legendary metal icon quietly stood side stage night after night watching the band perform. Gus also shares the unusual real-life inspiration behind the title Steel Burner, plus some really down-to-earth stories about balancing life on the road while raising his new 9-month-old son. All great stuff, and I think you're really going to enjoy this one. All right, let's get into this. Metal Walt, Gus G. I'm the Vernomatic, and this is Metal Mayhem ROC.
Today we welcome to the show guitarist extraordinaire Gus G. Gus, great to have you on.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so listen, you've been shredding stages for a very long time now with Firewind, of course, alongside Ozzy, touring recently with Ronnie Romero, and now you're back with this great new solo album, Steel Burner. So I want to get it all into this, all right? So let's take you back to the beginning, growing up in Greece. Like, how did you get into heavy metal, and what inspired you to pick up the guitar?
Actually, it was a record that my dad had at home, Frampton Comes Alive. And just hearing Frampton in the household just playing and doing the talk box, and it was like one of those revelations as a kid when I was around 9 years old. And I remember telling my dad I wanted a guitar and, taking some lessons, and I never looked back.
Wow. Well, so what kind of music was your dad into? Like, was rock a popular thing listening in your household?
Well, no, not really. I mean, my dad was into Greek music, but he enjoyed some rock vinyls too. He had a few of them, and I remember when he put on the rock vinyls, I was always more excited than the Greek music stuff.
Why not?
And he taught me about. So he didn't know a lot about rock, but he did teach me. He did expose me to the Beatles, Pink Floyd, Santana, and stuff like that he knew. Yeah.
Right. So so obviously British and American rock was, still readily available in Greece. I mean, I think the scene in Greece and probably in a lot of mainstream Europe now is really expanding. I think more and more countries are getting summer festivals now. A few years ago, it used to just be grass pop and, download. But, I think the scene is really growing. So, I mean, talk a little bit about, like Greece's place in, let's say, global metal world today. Do you see this as an expanding thing?
As a scene that produces bands, or as a scene that has festivals and shows?
I would say both.
Yeah, well, it's two different things, obviously. Greece is very it has a reputation for its really its crazy fan base, crazy rock fans. Okay. A lot of the bands that come here, they're like, wow, it's a very passionate crowd, so but there's a local scene as well when it comes to musicians, but not a lot. Excuse me. Excuse me. Hold on. Yeah. Yeah. Here we go. But yeah, sorry, I had a call. But just not a lot of bands make it out of here, and it's not really a country that is popular for its metal scene, if you like. There's only like a few handful bands that are touring internationally, so to speak. I don't know why that is, though.
Riding Christ and Septiflesh, I think, probably the two biggest current bands, right?
The two biggest bands, and the two of the oldest bands as well. So they've been around since the 90s. And the only other band really is us. So
yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't know why. It's strange. Maybe it's the weather. It's too nice weather, so people are just outside drinking coffee.
Could be. I mean, you think of for me, when I think of like Greece, I go to that Scorpions. Like the Scorpions recorded that acoustic album right at the big famous theater, right? And then to me, I always associate like Greece with that Scorpions album. So there's obviously got to be something in the fan base if a band like that is going to go and record what's now a pretty monumental live album.
Yeah, like I said, the fan base is insane here. It's great, So people love going to concerts. People love singing at concerts, showing the loves to their favorite artists. I mean, Scorpions is huge here. They come here all the time. They play here all the time.
Yeah, well, so it sounds like they got some pretty good status. So talking about Firewind, Gus, I'll take you back in time. It was Reading, Pennsylvania, 2007. I was on a business trip. Well, it was a local business trip, but I was able to catch you guys, Firewind. So, that seemed like a lifetime ago, but, the band's really grown into something bigger. You're 10 studio albums in, still going strong. So maybe just talk a little bit about what that journey has meant to you personally, building that band from the ground up.
I mean, it's the work of my life, basically, working with this band and trying to get it off the ground. And it's been a lot of work. It's been a lot of highs and lows, of course, in the band. It's hard to go too much into detail now because, we're a band that exists 25 years now. But I mean, I'm proud. If I'm proud of one thing, is that the fact that we are still here and somehow able to do it. And, we've become a small business that is, thank God, it's profitable. Because at the end of the day, you have to pay the bills somehow. And I feel really blessed that I can do that, playing my favorite music in front of the people who support us. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I can't remember what album that you guys were promoting on that tour, but for me, and maybe for a lot of fans in the States that like that traditional guitar-driven, melodic, power metal, it's not something, at the time that was really, you didn't see a lot of American bands doing it. You had to kind of reach out to the European bands. Yep. In a sense, it's really nice that through the years you get, when you guys do come through, you get to experience some of that. I mean, of course, 15, 20 years later, it's a lot bigger, but you guys definitely have a signature sound that really is probably synonymous with that European style, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we are part of the scene, and yeah, I mean, our sound is melodic, it's heavy, and it's definitely way more European than American, even though the first two Firewind albums, they were more on the American power metal side, sound-wise, and that's what a lot of fans are telling me. Maybe because we did have an American singer on the first two records, Stephen Frederick. Mm-hmm. So if you look those albums up, you'll probably know what I mean. But then, the sound changed a lot, especially with the vocalist change. Yeah, but as you get older, you evolve your sound and style, and that's only natural. I mean, I couldn't play what I was doing. I couldn't replicate, not play, but replicate, the stuff that I was doing when I was in my early 20s.
Gus, in the States, obviously, you may not be a giant household name, but you're probably synonymous for the period that you played with Ozzy Osbourne on the Scream album. So quickly take us through that. How did that opportunity come together? How did you end up in that camp? I
don't know. They somehow, I guess, I made some kind of a short list of guitar players that they were showing him about picking a new guitar player or auditioning guitar players. And I don't know why and how I ended up on that list. Nobody ever told me, but somebody reached out and asked if I wanted to audition. And that was crazy. And of course I said yeah. So I went out to LA and I auditioned and I met Ozzy and I got the gig on the day, man. It was crazy.
What was that interaction like? I mean, how nervous were you saying, "Oh my God, like I'm going to go audition"?
Yeah.
Like, take us through that. And you got it on the same day, huh? Wow.
Yeah. I was really nervous. And like, Ozzy he broke the ice. He gave me a call at the hotel room the night before because I flew in from Greece. I was super jet lagged, and he gave me a call and he just, look, man, he said, don't worry about if you mess it up, if you make any mistakes. It's rock and roll. Have a good feeling and just play with your heart. And he broke the ice for me. So and it was nice. I just met him and I was a bit nervous when I met him. And he was like, "Don't worry. Let's just jam and let's have fun." And yeah, the jam went well.
What kind of jam was it? Did you have a couple songs you had to show up with, or was it just getting in the room with the touring band and playing?
The touring band was there. I had a run through with a band first, and then he came along, and I think we did like 4 or 5 songs. We did "Bark at the Moon," "I Don't Know," "Suicide Solution," and what else? "I Don't Want to Change the World," maybe. Yeah.
Okay.
Now in "Crazy Train." Yeah. So 4 or 5 songs, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. It's funny, Gus. I've seen Ozzy many, many times with the solo band, with Sabbath. And I remember the last time I saw Ozzy and his band was at Madison Square Garden in New York City. On that tour was 2010. And I'll never forget it because I felt it was the pinnacle of his touring. You guys played a long show. You had a lot of Sabbath songs, but you were pulling out songs like Killer of Giants and Fire in the Sky. And I just remember, like, you never saw Ozzy do almost a 2-hour show until that tour hit. And It was just something like, maybe I was spoiled, but I never went back to see him after that because that was like my lasting impression. And then, of course, you had Halford opening up that run. So what do you remember from that tour and even any interactions with the Metal God?
I have great memories from that tour. It was insane. You're right. There was a rejuvenated energy in the air, and Ozzy really wanted to play the longest shows of his career. He was like adamant about it. He's like, "We are going to play 3 hours." We're like, okay. So, we already knew a lot of songs. We had rehearsed for a month before the tour. We knew so many songs. So he kept adding stuff. And I think by the time we got to New York City, it was 2:40, 2:45 we played, something like that. 2 hours, 30 minutes. Actually, I think the longest show was either in Greece or in Tokyo, close to 3 hours. It was insane. So really good times. It was like the early days of that lineup, and he was really excited that he had a young band, and I was a new guy, so was Tommy Clufetos. And we were the band was firing on all cylinders, man. And of course, having the Metal God on tour, that was insane. And it was great to meet Rob and as a fan, of course. And some nights I would see him, he would watch us from the side of stage, and it was like, oh my God, you have Ozzy on one side and Rob Halford on the other side. But I was friends with I'm friends with his guitar player Roy Z, and so on days off I think we had a pretty cool party in my hotel room in Manhattan with the Halford guys came out there. Not Halford, but the band. And I have really good memories, man.
Yeah, that's good. Roy Z's one of those underappreciated guitar players that, does all the writing for Bruce Dickinson, and a fellow Jersey boy, Metal Mike. Is
Metal Mike as well. He was there. Yeah. I've known Metal Mike for a long time too. So we had a good time on that tour, man. It was a good, the camaraderie, it was very nice.
Yeah, well, it's good to know that you had that great tour and you lasted a long time. But let's get into the new album, which is why we're here, Steel Burner. So it's your first solo album in 5 years. So why was the right time now to get this one out?
Well, it's been 5 years since I did a solo record, so I thought it's about time I get it done. Last year I was putting a couple of singles. Originally I thought I would just do singles, but then I quickly changed my mind and I said, it's not right. These songs should live in an album. And I decided to put it all together. I was missing a few songs, and then I finally sat down and completed the record last summer.
Okay. And what's your vision when you go into a project like this? Because it is a balance of instrumentals and vocal tracks. You kind of have them interspersed in the order. Like, how do you go about putting this whole thing together?
I think the situations, the circumstance drove me into that decision, because I had already a couple of songs with vocals. I had the song with Ronnie, My Premonition, which we released. And I was sitting on a track that I did with Matt Barlow already. And then I had a couple of instrumentals. And I think at some point I probably thought it over and I said, well, you're going to put the stuff out anyway, so why not do like a 50-50 record? It was pretty clear that I was not going to do a full instrumental record again now this time, because I already done it like 4 years ago. So I decided to just have best of both worlds, and I'm glad I did that.
Yeah, I've been spinning the album a lot leading up to this interview, and it's good. It depends on the mood. Like, I love the instrumental tracks because I love that. I'm not a guitar player, but I always love that melodic instrumental style stuff, the Joe Satriani, Steve Vais, Eric Johnson's, and you bring a lot of that to the table. Yep. And then you get into the album with the specific singer. So, like, maybe take us through that, because again, you have Matt Barlow, you have Ronnie Romero, you have Doro, Pesch, and others. Did you write with these singers specifically in mind, or did the pieces come together and then you kind of reached out?
I did not write with them in mind. I had those pieces already laying around, and when the opportunity came up, I kind of like looked around which ideas were half finished or fitting for these people. So I kind of like picked and chose the demos that I would send to each one.
Okay. So something like Nothing Can Break Me, it's, your classic Doro Pesch style singing, but what kind of made her a good fit for that song?
I had that riff for a number of years. As a matter of fact, I had it for 10 years, and it was half finished. It was not done. And I originally wrote it I actually had Ozzy in mind in case we ever did a follow-up album. Because it has that kind of vibe, a little bit classic rock, classic metal, but also kind of with a modern twist. Some fast double bass and all that. But anyways, nothing ever came out of that. So this song was like pushed aside, and I was looking for the right voice for it. And then when somebody suggested Doro, I said, I think this song could fit her because it's very anthemic. And I know Doro loves these big anthems, writing about inner strength, resilience, and things like that. And it was like a no-brainer. I'm like, I gotta send this to her, and let's see what she thinks. And she loved it. Thank God she loved it. And she said, look, she said, I want to write the lyrics and the vocal lines to this. I was like, thank you. Yes, please do. But I mean, this is a true collaboration, so.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, is that how it kind of went with all your collaborations? Like, you did the music and you kind of handed it over? Like, because like a song like Dancing with Death, this is a pretty heavy song. I mean, it's obviously about, someone battling their inner demons. Like, how did Matt shape this whole song? Yeah,
it was the same situation with Matt. I just had the song sitting around. I originally thought it was going to end up on a Firewind record, but it didn't for some reason. It didn't work out. And then when I met Matt and we started talking about it, I was like, well, this has that kind of dark melancholy that some of the stuff that Matt did in the 90s with Iced Earth. Mm-hmm. I kind of got that vibe. I was like, okay, this could be a track for him. It's like that. I guess I'm good at that, at like placing certain pieces of music with certain voices without really knowing originally how that is going to be like that. And I sent it to him, and it was the same situation. Matt, it was right up his alley. He just did his lyrics, did his vocal lines, did his recording, sent it back to me as it was, as you hear it now. Great.
Oh, it's good stuff. Good stuff. You talk about Ronnie. I mean, you've been on the road with Ronnie Romero, but he gets 2 tracks on this. Frenemy, which I think is more of like a bluesy rock and roller, and then My Premonition, which I think, as you said, you've been playing live. So maybe how has being playing live with him influenced what you guys done together in the studio?
Really good, man. I mean, we started doing these shows 2 years ago for fun. Kind of snowballed from there. Now we have the same booking agent, so that helps things a lot. So we can plan our schedules ahead a lot and see what kind of stuff we want to do together. So there's not too many chefs in the kitchen, so to speak. Right. and we enjoy, it's like and we basically, it's the same agency, the same crew that Firewind uses. Even the drummer from Firewind is with us live, and so it's kind of like the same infrastructure that I have for Firewind. And we just go out there and we do these fun shows where we play some of my music, some of his, and we do some covers from the artists that we were connected with. Obviously, him with Blackmore, we play Rainbow.
Okay.
So we play some Ozzy, some Sabbath. And before the tour happened, I just turned around and said, "Look, man, we should try and write something together. We got like 25 shows ahead of us." So he's like, yeah, let's do that. So that's how we came up with the idea for My Premonition. And then Frenemy, the second song, is the song that we completed for this record now. And I said to him, well, we're going to repeat the tour this year because the last one did so well, because we're going on tour again in October. I said, we should have a second song. He said, yeah, let's do it. So that's how Frenemy came about.
Yeah, they're good tracks, and again, we go back to what we were talking about a few minutes earlier. It's a shame being in the States, like we don't get to see you guys, even Ronnie, because you guys are really circling that European spot. But it would really be nice to see that show, because I've seen the set list; it looks great. And
we only did
Metalhead.
Yeah, we only did like 3 shows this January in California around NAMM weekend.
Okay.
But yeah, not a full tour, not yet. I mean, we have a lot of work in Europe and a lot of demand, so it keeps us busy here. I mean, hopefully we bring the show to the States someday.
Yeah, I mean, you listen, New York City and the East Coast, you could, sure book it, but I understand it's an economics thing. What was I going to say? Now, are you guys? Because I've had Ronnie on the show as well for one of his solo albums a few years ago, and I believe is he in Romania? I can't remember what country he's in.
He lives in Romania, yeah, which is
okay,
really close to me. We're like, because Greece is borderline, so it's it's like a 30-minute flight where he lives, in Bucharest from here.
Oh, they're even better then. It's a nice collaboration, right? You live next to each other. It's good stuff too. Okay. Now, the last singer on the album, Dino Jelicic, I mean, again, not a household name. I mean, he has a cup of tea with Whitesnake. Never really got off the ground in the States, but he's a talent. I mean, the guy's awesome. But this one has a little bit more of a modern feel. Was it kind of an intentional direction you went with that one?
No, it was one of those songs again that I had laying around. I actually wrote it together with Jacob Bunton, a friend of mine from the States, who's a great songwriter. He sings on my second record, Brand New Revolution. So we had the vocal line, but we didn't have a lyric. And we had the title of the song. And I said to Dino, hey, man, I'm looking for a great singer for this and somebody to write the lyrics. And how about it? And it's got this kind of like GNR, Alter Bridge vibe. Like,
yeah.
I think I told him I think you would kill it, and he did. Yeah. So he wrote the lyrics. I like the lyrics he did. It's about this kind of, fake portrayal of life that a lot of people are showing on social media nowadays.
Yeah, isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
Truth? Well, it's a nice body of work, Gus. It flows really easily. Good one to put in your car and just crank it up. The title Steel Burner, it says it came from some sort of machine. Like, what's that all about?
It was this interesting story. It was a commission for a company here where I live. They do metal machines. I think they're called CNC, metal cutting machines. They cut metal basically, like these big machines. And they were looking for somebody to do the company showreel, do the music for their company showreel. And the guys that were doing their project for this company that were hired, they were fans, and they said, "Would you like to write music for like a trailer?" And I said, "Yeah." The concept is very metal, and they wanted like a metal track, a metal backing track. So I came up with this, this track. But it turns out that the owners of the company, they were fans of mine, and when I met them, they were like, "You should put this out. You should put this out." I said, "Well, I wrote it for you guys. It's a commission." They're like, "We don't care. Put it out there. Your fans are gonna love it." So I said, "All right, I'll do it, but I'm gonna name the track Steel Burner because that's the name of their company. They're called Steel Burner."
Was that tied into the little video you have out there on YouTube? Because that's kind of cool too.
Yes, because that was part of the show reel. I was supposed to be playing on those machines from those guys. So we basically made a different edit to fit my like a music video, and then there's like a slightly different one that kind of like showcases their products.
Okay. Yeah, it's cool. It does. It's like a little double promotion vehicle, right, for the company
Absolutely.
as well as your album. So, Gus, you alluded that you're going to go back out on the road with Ronnie, but what's the rest of the year look like for you? What are you going to be doing? Just out on the road?
Yeah. We're gonna start this summer playing a bunch of festivals in Europe, both Firewind and also with Ronnie. So I'm doing both out there. September, actually, Firewind is coming to the States. I don't know when this interview is gonna air, but in a couple of days we are announcing a tour in the States.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know if I can tell you yet, but when is this airing?
It's this'll air probably, if you're announcing it later this week, it'll be after that, so you can talk about it.
Yeah. We're going on tour with Firewind with Ensiferum, a band from Finland.
Mm-hmm.
And we're gonna be doing a couple of weeks with them in US and Canada. And then right after that, that's gonna be September. And then after that, I go straight back to Europe to start the tour with Ronnie, which is gonna take us all over Europe, Scandinavia, and Japan.
Yeah. All right. So sounds like you got a busy schedule ahead.
Busy. It's gonna be a 3-month. It's gonna be 3-month long tour. So yeah.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Well, hopefully we'll get a chance to see you in the New York, New Jersey area. So, Ronnie, Gus, let's wrap it up with a quick one. I like to ask some of the artists, what's something about you outside of music that maybe none of your fans know about you? A hobby, something you like to do?
Oh, I'm the most boring guy, actually. I have no other hobbies. I have no life outside music. It's crazy, man. Like, and especially now, having a newborn baby at home, there's no time for anything else. I'm just
there you go.
So I'm a full-time dad, actually, when I'm not being a full-time rocker.
You have is it a real young baby, like just born?
9 months.
All right. Congratulations, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. That's great. Well, best of luck with the baby and the album and the touring to come. So to everybody listening, make sure you check out his new album, Steel Burner, out on Metal Department Records. So Gus, I really appreciate you taking the time today. This was a good conversation.
Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it.
So for Gus G, I'm Metal Walt, and this is Metal Mayhem ROC.
Metal for life.
Thank you for listening to Metal Mayhem ROC. Check out our website at metalmayhemroc.com for information on podcasts, archives, links to all our live radio shows, and all sorts of info. Please like, follow, and share with everyone, even your non-metal friends. And always remember to keep it heavy.